Please, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to welcome everyone to the Anglo-American School of St. Petersburg's Poetry Cafe. I learned a few minutes ago that the 10th graders who are actually leading this session, again, thank you for the lead in this. Round of applause for 10th graders. Did have a poetry cafe 2 years ago, three years ago, in which it was only the 10th graders who were involved in this. And now we have such a wide spectrum of people who will be presenting their poems. Some of the poems are original poems, and some of the poems are from other poets. So we have also a mixed evening tonight. We have music, we have dance, and we have poetry. So it's really an evening dedicated to the arts of many different types. And so I do also want to recognize Miss Doak, Miss Cavender, and all the teachers, and Miss Marina, of course, for helping to organize this. So thank you guys very much for your work. Now, eventually, much to your gratitude, I will leave the stage, and the evening will be co-hosted by two students. But first, I was asked to read a poem, and I will read it's called a slam poem by a slam poet. And before I read it, I want to give you a little bit of the background. About 4 years ago, when I was working in Moscow, we had this slam poet called Taylor Malley, and he was very, very popular on videos and YouTube for his poetry. And one that was very, very popular amongst teachers in particular was the one I'm going to read tonight, and it's called What Teachers Make. And it's prose. It's obviously not rhyming couplets like I'm sure some of the poems actually are. And it is obviously a slam poem, so it's best acted out, but please forgive me for my not memorization. I have not memorized the poem, and also my lack of maybe emphasis where there should be emphasis. So, the setting is a dinner in which a bunch of people are sitting around eating dinner, and they're having conversations. And this is the poem. It's called What Teachers Make. He says, the problem with teachers is, what's a kid learn from somebody who decided his best option in life was to become a teacher? He reminds the other dinner guests that it's true what they say about teachers. Those who can, do. Those who can't, teach. I decided to bite my tongue instead of his and resist the temptation to remind the dinner guests that it's also true what they say about lawyers. Because we're eating, after all, and this is a polite conversation. I mean, you're a teacher, Taylor. Be honest. What do you make? I wish you hadn't done that. Ask me to be honest. Because you see, I have this policy about honesty and kicking butt. If you ask for it, then I have to let you have it. You want to know what I make? I make kids work harder than they ever thought they could. I make a C+ feel like a Congressional Medal of Honor, and an A- feel like a slap in the face. How dare you waste my time with anything less than your best? I make kids sit through 40 minutes of study hall in absolute silence. No, you may not work in groups. No, you may not ask a question. Why won't I let you go to the bathroom? Because you're bored. And you don't really have to go to the bathroom, do you? I make parents tremble in fear when I call home. Hi, this is Mr. Malley. I hope I haven't called you at a bad time. I just wanted to talk to you about something your son said today. To the biggest bully in the grade, he said, leave the kid alone. I still cry sometimes, don't you? It's no big deal. And that was the noblest act of courage I've ever seen. I make parents see their children for who they are and what they can be. You want to know what I make? I make kids wonder. I make them question. I make them criticize. I make them apologize and mean it. I make them write. I make them read and read and read. I make them spell definitely beautiful, definitely beautiful, definitely beautiful, over and over and over again until they will never misspell either one of those words again. I make them show all their work in math. and hide it on their final drafts in English. I make them understand that if you got this, then you follow this, and if somebody ever tries to judge you by what you make, you give them, you can imagine what I'm making right now. Here, let me break it down for you so you know what I say is true. Teachers make a gosh darn difference. Now what about you? Thank you. I would like to bring up to the stage Mr. Leon Corpening and Milton Mulberry.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all delighted to be here.
I believe that's F major up. If you could put F minor blues on YouTube. It's on
F minor?
Yeah. Just F and F minor. All right, Mr. Milton's going to join me today. We're going to just play a little bit.
Piano?
It should be like the first one. It should be black with white letters.
Need the Huawei key.
Crank it up a bit. All right, this is the F minor blues. Just jam it out.
can open. That was a great performance. And now, to introduce us, we will be your MCs tonight. I'm Courtney.
I'm Liana. Welcome, dear ladies and gentlemen, to Poetry Cafe.
For this event, we have Miss Tamara Doak performing her own. So without further ado.
Hello. Ah. There. Testing. Hello. Why is it not working? Hello. Okay, there we go. All right, this is a poem I wrote in graduate school, sort of making fun of academia while I was in the midst of it. There's a lot of kind of American literature references that Mr. Alm will certainly get, and probably a lot of you. It's called Literary Banter. To be or not to be, to agree, to disagree, to search for an angle, an insight, a plan, to interpret, to dissect the greatest minds of man. With Dreiser we encounter the baseness of greed and ambition that produces a pathetically bad seed. We compare and contrast as never before to explain the behaviors we deign to abhor. We recognize genius in O'Connor's bleak woes of tales of insanity set down in prose. We search for the insight previously left dark. We startle with our wit, our perception, our spark. How do we presume to interpret these tales of societal ills, cockroaches, and scales? Perhaps they would laugh at our pathetic attempts to put meaning to motions once penned were all spent. But interpret we do and interpret we must. Just one more thorough reading may change our whole thrust and put us on high with the theories we need to satisfy our unquenchable academic greed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doak, for this amazing piece. We think that poetry is language at its finest, and throughout this evening you will hear both original poetry as demonstrated by Ms. Tamra, and you will also hear poetry written by infamous writers and authors. Oh, I would also like to add that throughout this evening we are welcome to any volunteers who decided suddenly that they want to perform as well. If you do, you should just come talk to us. We will be right off the stage. And you're welcome to recite your own piece or a piece that you does close to your heart.
Up next, we have the grade 4 girls, Rita, Ella, and Arena. Did you know that the grade 4 actually put together their own poetry book? So these students will be presenting their own poems.
Do you guys want to move microphones up here? Rita will go first, and her poem is called Pounce, Pounce. Pounce, Pounce. Pounce, pounce. Bounce, bounce. I personally love poetry is because it makes us think and it makes us look at the world through different perspectives. Some of them more sunny and spring-like and positive, others more heartfelt and emotional. I see a lot of Grade 10 poetry lovers in the audience. For a whole semester, they dive deep into analyzing poetry, and today they will be introducing some of their favorite pieces with us.
We will be starting off with Il Sun, presenting Alone by Maya Angelou.
My name is Il, and I'm from 10th grade, and I am going to recite a poem called Alone by Maya Angelou. I'm thinking last night how to find my soul at home, where water is not thirsty and bread loaf is not stone. I came up with one thing, and I don't believe I'm wrong, that nobody but nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, nobody but nobody can make it out here alone. There are some millionaires with money they can use. Their wives run around benches, their children sing the blues. They've got expensive doctors to cure their hurts of stone. But nobody, no nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, nobody but nobody can make it out here alone. Now if you listen closely, I'll tell you what I know. Storm clouds are gathering, the wind is gonna blow. The race of men is suffering, and I can hear them moan. 'Cause nobody but nobody can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, nobody but nobody can make it out here alone. Thank you.